Hello and welcome back to RamsTalkPodcast. And we're here today on a sweltering Sunday evening. Derby played Matlock Town yesterday, getting a vital first point of the season away at Matlock. But no, it was a good run out, and it was good to see some new players, some old players, some young players, and to see how John Eustace's side get fit for the new season. So joining me today to go through all of that, talk about the transfers or lack of, look into lots of rumours and basically go through all the talking points of the last 7 days. Firstly, a man I kind of forgot actually came on the pod. He popped up this morning. He was like, yeah, I'll do it. Why not? Adam Titley, how you doing, pal?
Yeah, I'm good. Part-timer now, really, aren't I? So, yeah, and he come on every so often. But, no, yeah, very warm at the minute, as I'm sure everybody is. Just sweating, just too hot. It's just far too hot. But, no, it's good to see football back. And, yeah, just good to watch some live football, really, isn't it? Come back, no matter who you're playing, and get to see some of the new players that we've signed and some of the young players coming to the team.
Yeah, absolutely. We've also got Isaac Gordon's agent, Callum Boocock. How are you doing, Cal?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Very, very warm. I didn't think it was going to get warmer than last week, but Mother Nature has decided to play its card. So yeah, it's very, very warm at the moment. But yeah, all good, mate. All good.
Good stuff. Yeah, I think Callum was doing some excessive PR in the chat for Isaac Gordon, who I'm sure we'll get on to earlier today. Apparently, he's better than Kane Wilson already. That may or may not be a real quote, but let's jump straight into it. Let's jump straight into it and have a chat about basically Derby's first half, Adam. It was a really interesting first half. I mean, you look at the team that Derby put out, it was a bit of a mix across the two. Obviously, there were more senior players in the first half than second, but a couple of notable additions. I thought it was interesting. We saw Kenzo Halvmine obviously starting that deeper role, sort of sat in a two with Ben Osborne. We had a young lad, we've already mentioned Isaac Gordon at right back, who I thought was quite impressive. What did you kind of make of that first half performance? It, to me, seemed a little bit, well, we talked about this before recording, it felt very pre-season-y, didn't it?
Yeah, I think it probably was a classic pre-season game yesterday. Just the tempo, we weren't playing a massive cup game type style of game. It was just pretty slow build up. But I thought Derby put together one or two decent things which could have led to goals. Obviously, we had the disallowed one with Corey Blackett-Taylor coming in at the back post and steering one in, but it just wasn't to be with it being offside. I thought, was Ben Osborne on free kicks as well? I thought some of the balls he put into the boxes were actually quite decent. I think last season that was something that he seemed to go on at quite a few set pieces and was pretty poor at them, if I'm going to be completely honest. So it was nice to see when the pressure's off, a couple of decent balls into the box, which I think Kamar Roof got on the end of as well. And he looked like a player who could still move. It's interesting to see that he started, I think, that game yesterday. I think that's something that none of us really expected. It makes sense if he's trying to stay fit and build up his fitness, and if we're going to rotate teams and still expecting to sign players, it's good that he can come into these pre-season games and add some fitness. It always reminds me of when we brought Bradley Johnson on at the end of the game at Chesterfield a couple of years back when I don't think Johnson had played a professional game for maybe a year or half a year. So yeah, it was interesting to see Kamar Roof play. I think that's something that I think surprised a lot of people, but he looked okay. But then again, it comes down to the classic saying of it's only pre-season, isn't it? And when you're playing an opposition that's lower down the footballing pyramid and it's not going to have the same tempo as an actual match day, then I think a couple of players can look comfortable. But I thought it was an okay performance. One or two opportunities there to score from, but as you say, it's just all about building up that match fitness, and we'll probably get the best out of our pre-season in Austria.
Yeah, I think he's covered everything. So thank you very much for listening. No, some good points there, Adam. I mean, we were missing a lot of players yesterday. Carlton Morris, still getting up to speed from an injury. Andreas Weimann, another miss. People kind of expect him to be back. He's still rehabbing. Morris expected to be back for the game against Salzburg. Not too sure about where Weimann will be. Obviously, Salverson out injured, Langus out injured. We're quite a few players missing, a few more that I've not mentioned there as well because I can't remember them off the top of my head. But we kind of had a bit of a half a squad, didn't we, Callum? I think a lot of people turned up to Matlock kind of hoping to see some of the new names, some of the new faces, hoping Patrick Agyemang would, sprint out of the tunnel in some like WWE style, reveal. But it wasn't to be, but still, it was good to see some players. And who impressed you most in that first half?
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, the lineup, as Adam mentioned, it was one of those where it's the first pre-season game. We obviously opened the last 3 seasons at Matlock, and they always do these almost like 2 different games with 2 different starting 11s, and like you said, one's always more senior than the other. So I wasn't too concerned with obviously those who were missing. I think I thought Danny Batt and Clark looked good together. I thought Clark especially looked very, very assured, as he always has since he's been playing in a Derby County shirt. Don't get me wrong, he didn't really have much in terms of opposition and in terms of defensive duties to do, but in terms of his distribution, I thought he was semi-decent. Elder, was good to see him on the pitch. As those who listen know, I'm a fan of his, so it'd be good to see him up on the left-hand side. And I actually was strangely surprised as someone's put it in the comments that Kenzo Halbmine seems to have put on a bit of muscle. He seemed a bit more. I don't know. There just seemed a bit more about him. He seemed to wanting to get on the ball more. He seemed to want to get within those little pockets. And obviously, Adam alluded to it. That one obviously wasn't an assist in the end, but that pass that he picked out of the back post for Corey Blackett-Taylor was brilliant. So I thought there was 2 or 3 players that did impress in their little small cameos in that first half.
Yeah, it's a lovely ball, wasn't it? I don't know if Blackett-Taylor's offside. You obviously can't tell. I'm sure there was someone who was stood on that side of the pitch that'd be able to give us a good account of whether he was on or not. But yeah, it's a lovely ball by Kenzo. And, that time in Ibiza, maybe Wayne Lineker's given him some sort of injection to make him bigger or something like that. Who knows what's going on over there? But he definitely looks like he's worked over the summer, hasn't he? As James said in the comments, he looks a lot more filled out and he looks a lot more physical. I think there were times, and obviously when we talk about the second half, we'll talk on it more, but there were times when the Matlock players really tried to use their physicality and really tried to knock players around. And I think Kenzo was one of those. They tried to knock him and they couldn't do it. Whereas I think last season they might have done it. So it's promising. It's a good start, isn't it? It's a really good start. So yeah, let's hope he stays in the gym and we end up with some absolutely built midfielder.
No, it'll be even harder to tell him and Morris apart then.
It will. They'll look exactly the same, won't they? Completely the same. Another thing noticed, obviously, Jakob Vidal-Zetterstrom, he always wears the scrum cap, his hat, every game. You could tell how little effort he was willing to put in, wasn't he? He knew he wasn't going to have much to do. He didn't even put his hat on. So clearly we'd set out with a goal of, we're not really going to take this too seriously. Just get out there, run around a bit and create some stuff. But Adam, one person that we need to bring up from the first half is Ibu Adams. Now, one thing that was talked about last year was Eustace came in and immediately moved Adams from that holding midfield role. I know you see a lot of the setups people put on Twitter with, where do we want players to go? And usually Ibu Adams is in one of those holding roles. Once again, Kenzo Halbmine, we kind of see him more as a number 10. And yet he was deployed as the holding midfielder with Ibu Adams sort of in that attacking midfield role again. What do you make of that?
I'm not a massive fan, if I'm completely honest. I think Ibu Adams technically has gotten a lot better. I think he gets better year on year in terms of his technical abilities. We sort of step up in our style of playing and try and play with a little bit more quality. But I still think Kenzo Halbmine is much better further forward and has the ability to, like Callum said, play that pass into the box, which can create a real golden opportunity. And I think if Kenzo Halbmine has filled out a little bit more, then I think he'll be even better than and build on what he started last season. Obviously, he was in and out of the team and wasn't really favoured, I don't think, by Eustace towards the back end of the season. I think when we were digging in for them results, Halbmine usually featured on the bench, but under Paul Warne for that first 6 months of the season, I think Kenzo Halbmine was probably one of the first starters on the team sheet and did score a couple of goals at the start of the season. And he has that technical ability, and I prefer him further forward than Ibu Adams. I think Adams has come a long way since we've gone up and since he first came on loan to us. But I think I'd prefer maybe Ibu Adams a little bit more central than that defensive position. But still, I'd prefer Kenzo Halbmine either central or further forward. I think he's got that ability to score a goal from distance, which not many of our players have at the moment. And I think he can be used so much better if he's that little bit further forward. So for me, I'd rather see Kenzo Halbmine further forward, but I understand why we're playing Ibu Adams a little bit further forward. But for me, I'm not sure he should be in that attacking midfield role. come the start of the season, if I'm being completely honest, because I think technically Kenzo Almine is a much better technical footballer than Ebou Adams, being completely honest, but Ebou Adams has a lot of different qualities which Kenzo Almine doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, like James says in the comments, could it be because Matlock are a less superior side? It allows Kenzo to sit deep and dictate the game, and him and Osborne did do that. I think Osborne played a lot of diagonals, and they're the sort of passes he doesn't play in the Championship because there's someone on him within 2 seconds and he doesn't have the time to pick those sort of passes out. So potentially that could be it. But looking at a different area of the pitch, Callum, right back. Now, I've already mentioned, I'm sure the contract's drawn up. Isaac Gordon, I remember you were there when he signed his professional deal last season. Yeah. I'm sure you were there like a proud parent. I thought he looked decent. Genuinely looked all right in that first half. I mean, he was paired up with Caden Jackson, which was quite unlucky for him. But a lot of the time, Jackson did his favourite thing where he picks up the ball and then turns around and passes it the other way. But he did that a few times, and Gordon on the overlap looked pretty dangerous. He didn't have a lot of defending to do, but going forwards, he looked like he had something.
Yeah, look, I think with the limitations that we do have at right back at the moment, Niambe's still coming back from injury. Wilson's obviously wasn't present in Saturday's game. We do need to look at alternatives, and obviously Eustace has looked to the academy, and Gordon was first up in that first half, and I thought he was well equipped. I thought he got down the line. He interchanged with Kane Jackson on the right-hand side quite well, and wasn't afraid to put himself about. And I think that's all you need from, don't get me wrong, like we spoke about it in the chat, that it's Matlock. It's the first game of the season. It's first minutes of pre-season. You're not going to like run a mile screaming about that he's going to be the starting right back. But I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how much he's used with what we have in the building currently at right back. So yeah, I'm right in saying he is the third installation of the Gordon family to come through. Is he not? A different one. I know we have got the third one, haven't we? But he's lower in the pecking order. So yeah, but no. I was really impressed with him, and it'd be interesting to see if he plays again against Salzburg.
Yeah, it would be nice to see. And like you say, if Kane Wilson's not fit from his post-season surgery, he had surgery just after the season ended. We've been playing through injury for a while. So yeah, it'd be good to see if he gets minutes against Salzburg, especially, if Salzburg put some of their first teamers out. It'll be a really interesting game to see how he stacks up against players of genuine quality. So yeah, that'd definitely be good to see. But Adam, we got a comment from Ian talking about how we've got plenty of wingers already. Now, I thought yesterday, obviously you can't read too much into it. It's the first pre-season game, right? I thought Blackett-Taylor did okay. I think there's a couple of times where he did his standard cut inside and didn't really go anywhere. I thought Jackson didn't really inspire me very much. I think he put a good ball across at one point towards the end of the first half, but didn't really do too much. We really struggled to create chances yesterday. Apart from that disallowed goal, we didn't really create a chance for the whole first half. And to be honest, near enough pretty much the whole game. Part of that is the fact that we're really lacking out wide. Do you think it showed a little bit yesterday that we were kind of lacking in those areas?
Yeah, I'm going to be honest, I only watched the match highlights, so I can't claim that I've seen the full 90 and analysed every moment of the game. But I think for me, you can see the mainstay of the chances came through down the middle. You saw Ben Osborne, like you mentioned, he was playing diagonals, which was probably rather than us trying to build up play down out wide. I think we had a couple of decent overlaps, like you mentioned, through Gordon and Jackson. But as you say, there wasn't too many chances created from out wide when we've been usually so reliant on them before. I think talking about Blackett-Taylor, for me, it's so key that he just gets up to match fitness this summer and doesn't pick up any little injuries and just make sure that he's fully fit, because when we've seen him fully fit before, he's always asked the question of should he be in and around the team or brought off the bench in earlier scenarios. But I think so many times he's been injured for long periods of time or just had a little injury, which meant he's not fully fit. And for me, I think it's just key that he gets as many minutes as possible and we can start to see what Blackett-Taylor has to offer fully, because I still don't think we've had him, a year and a half now, and we've not really seen Blackett-Taylor offer what we've seen him offer when he was at Charlton, when we signed him, and probably the reason why we did. I think it's important that Jackson just builds up his confidence, because I think at the start of last season, Jackson, I think, was confident enough. He was scoring a couple of goals here and there, providing assists, not setting anything on fire or anything like that, but I think he still had that confidence as the season went on. I feel like we sort of saw that dwindle a little bit. I think a lot of games when Jackson, like you mentioned, would turn and play the ball backwards. So I think for Derby, in terms of wingers, I do think we need to sign a couple more. But I think the wingers that we've got, it's crucial that we build up their match fitness and confidence, because some players have predominantly been injured for their period of time. And it's just important that we have as many players fully fit for that start of the season as we can, considering the injuries we've already gotten with players undergoing surgery. So for me, yeah, I do think we need to sign a couple more. I think that was obvious in that game against Matlock. There wasn't anybody with blistering pace or amazing technical skill out wide. But I think with the players that we do have, specifically Blackett-Taylor, I think it's massive that we just build up his fitness and confidence, because I think he could be a real asset in the Championship if we can get him fully fit, and asking that question of should he be starting or should he be coming off the bench sooner.
Well, that's it, and I think that's part of the issue, isn't it? I still stand by. I don't think Caden Jackson's a winger. I never have. I don't think it plays into his strengths at all. He doesn't want to run with the ball. He wants to run in behind. So I think that's a definite area we'd need to improve anyway. With Blackett-Taylor, I've just checked. He's played 24 games for Derby in 1.5 years, 12 in the Championship, 12 in League One. And that's 24 out of about 60 something that we've played as a team in that time. So that's only in the league as well. So, it's a weird one, because you can't really rely on him. I don't think we're in a position where we can rely on Corey Blackett-Taylor to play a role at Derby. He might get fit now, just like he did last season. I remember him playing at Chesterfield in that pre-season game where we got battered. But, he was fit at the start of last season, and then very quickly picked up an injury and was out for a while. So I don't think we're in a position where we can rely on players like that. I think we've got to be smart and bring in a few more wingers. I think that's our weakest area. But what we did see, Callum, we mentioned we started off with that holding midfield, sort of two of Osborne and Haldmine with Adams in front, average height of about 5'3". And then that didn't get any better in the second half when Liam Thompson came on, obviously in the middle as well. Cruz Allen, who's another very short midfielder. Derby need a holding mid, don't they? Derby need some bigger midfielders. Obviously linked with Sam Morsey today. Or yesterday by Alan Nixon. You can never know whether it's got any truth to it if that man says it, but all the same, it's an interesting link, isn't it, Carl?
Yeah, you are right. At the end of the day, we've spoken about it on the pod, that we are crying out for not only that holding midfielder, but I also probably say another midfielder with that Ibu Adams stature and presence, because in my opinion, I think Thompson is probably that squad player, interchanging and out. If he might even start, but I don't see Osborne, unless something sets the world alight over pre-season over the next few weeks, being in and around that midfield starting 11. So I'd probably say we need maybe two, but I definitely think one holding midfielder who can dictate the play, get on the ball, take it from the defence, and progress us up the pitch is vital. So yeah, I think Morsey's link is very, very interesting. I was impressed with him when he was at Wigan. Obviously, haven't really kept too much an eye on him while he was at, obviously, now Ipswich. So yeah, I think from what I remember of him, he's a decent player. But it'll be very interesting to see if that story develops, or if it turns into anything more, or if we just get completely linked to a different signing.
Yeah, it's a weird one. He's obviously captain. He's got a year left on his deal. Played a lot of games in the Premier League last season. So I'd be surprised. I really would be surprised. It'd be another old man joining the team.
Cost a lot as well.
And yeah, he would probably cost a lot as well. So I'm not sure about that. But, you've got to discuss the things that are out there at the minute, because there's very little, is there, Adam? Let's take a break from the game for a minute. There's not a lot going on. Obviously, Patrick Agyemang's on a freight ship, a cargo ship from America, those ones that take about 3 weeks. Clearly he's got lost on the way or something like that. They've done his medical 12 times or something along those lines. All the media team have just been recording the video of him, doing kick-ups or something for about 4 days. But apart from that, we've not had a lot, have we? It's been very quiet on the transfer front.
Yeah, it hasn't. I'm sure Derby are in the background, putting through bids to so many different players, but we just don't. There's no rumours going around, or the rumours that do go around are so far-fetched, they're clearly not true. But as you mentioned there, obviously the Agyemang one's one that's been going on for 3 years now, is it? That's what it feels like. And maybe it's because there's been not much football really to talk about until obviously Matlock. But obviously he's a massively exciting transfer, one that I think is probably taken up the Twitter space or the rumour space so much because it's such an exciting one for us to be pursuing. But I think we're going to see a couple of loans come in myself personally. I saw someone mention it in the comments. Do you think we'll sign another player as a backup on loan for that centre-back position? It made me think that I still think we're going to use that market quite well, but knowing Derby will probably utilise that market as the season kicks off, sort of thing. And we'll see a player come in maybe after match day 1 or 2. So, yeah, it's been very quiet. Not much to fill the void really until the season kicks off, which is disappointing, but I'm sure it'll ramp up, but maybe not just yet. It'll be interesting to see. A point that's popped into mind whether we'll have much action go on while we're in Austria. And it'll be interesting to see whether we take 2 teams to Austria as well, knowing how Derby have played with switching in the half time, or whether we'll just take 1. So yeah, it's been quite quiet, and hopefully it ramps up a bit more. Yeah, just any link will do for me. Just anything to speculate.
I wouldn't like to see Derby under 21 versus Salzburg, mate. I think we could concede double figures there. James says deadline day, probably. I mean, we did see last season, didn't we? Nat Phillips obviously coming in on deadline day, Chirera as well. Very differing loan spells those two had at Derby County. But that, what you say there, Adam, about filling the void, that's what a lot of the younger lads did yesterday. Second half, it was mainly a youth team. Obviously, we had Eric Peters, young talent at centre back as well, on trial. He's just here to get some match fitness, similar to Roof. Or maybe he'll play for the B team. Who knows? I'd be surprised if a 20-something cap Dutch international would come and play for Derby's B team out of his own will, but we'll see. But Derby did play a lot of the young players. I was really impressed with a couple of them, actually. I thought they put in some good performances. Yes, we've got to remember it's against Matlock, who are quite far down, but the physicality of the game changed a lot, I thought, in that second half. God knows what Matlock's halftime team talk was. Hack as many children as possible is what it felt like. I've never seen so many cynical fouls in a friendly in my life. I think they genuinely went out and were desperate to win that game. Which, fair play to them. I respect it. You know, you could say you've beaten Derby and then you look at the starting team sheet and it's the first team and you've actually beat the kids. But, you know, they really went for it. But a few of them really stepped up. And one that impressed me, Callum, was Freddie Titley. He was named Ireland International Player of the Year for under-19 level last year. He almost set a goal up within about 5 seconds. A really good driving run. Nutmeg someone so hard they pulled the hamstring. And then pulled a ball back across the box, and we were unlucky not to score. I think Agbawodakizu was the man sort of crashing into the box and just couldn't get his foot on it. I mean, what did you think, Callum, of Freddie Titley or any of the other lads? Who impressed you the most?
Yeah, Freddie Titley impressed me, like you said, within 5 seconds of his pre-season. I probably should have thought, well, in my opinion, he probably should have had a go on goal, go across the keeper, rather than probably being unselfish. But at the end of the day, he still made the run, still looked really, really positive. And I think what's good to see from not only him but from a couple of players. Hawkins was good. Obviously, Wielden's been in and around the first team for back end last season, and Cruz Allen, and obviously a Boocock, I'm going to call him because I don't want to butcher his name, bless him. So yeah, the one thing I am impressed with all of them is the tenaciousness and the willingness and the positiveness that they in their performances. They weren't afraid. They didn't seem nervous. They were willing to get on the ball and willing to try and impress John Eustace and essentially put down a marker to try and be in and around the first team as much as possible going into the new season. And appreciate it's only 45 minutes in Matlock Town, but that, well, like you said, they were willing to put their bodies in positions where Matlock players were siding them down, and we were getting free kicks outside the edge of the box, and obviously one of them being the one that got us the equaliser. So yeah, it really impressed.
Yeah, and Adam, I mean, you look at the way that Derby started playing that second half. I think some of the young lads really had a point to prove and really wanted to, as Callum said, make an impact in front of John Eustace. I thought some of the passing was quite sharp at the start. They got into the game really quickly. I think there was a really good move where the ball came out to the young lad on the left-hand side, Craig Forsyth, who put a good ball across the box, looking for Agbawodakizu, and he was unlucky not to score at the far post. And It was promising, wasn't it? But I've mentioned his name a few times. I think I'm saying it right. Charles Agbawadekizu Adam. We talked about it before we were recording. I thought he did really well in some areas. He couldn't get a shot away. He never got into a position where he could properly, fully get a shot away. But some of his hold-up play was really nice. You know, he was up against senior defenders and he was sort of rolling them. He was chesting the ball down. I think he played a really nice one to Cruz Allen around the corner at one point where he sort of like flicked it round, and it looked promising, didn't it? And he scored a lot of goals at under 18 level, kind of moved up to 21, still scored a few goals, ended up on the bench, I think, a couple of times for the senior team. It certainly looked like a player that could make an impact in the future.
Yeah, I think I agree with you there. He brought players into the game quite well against Matlock. I think he had his back to goal quite a few times and was bringing in the likes of Cruz Allen into play a little bit more to get shots off. And I think probably were better out wide with those younger players on who were a little bit more hungry to get forward and be a little bit more tenacious. But I think all the young players who played put in a good account of themselves, and it's probably a good opportunity for them to put themselves in the shop window for loans with this summer coming, in terms of this is their first opportunity of playing men's football, so to speak, in terms of playing against experienced players who've, you know, done the rounds in their career in non-league and maybe even in the football league as well. And it's a point to prove for them. Like you say, I think it's important that those players get that exposure to it. And I know we mentioned about Matlock being a little bit more physical in that second half. And for me, I'd rather them be physical against the youth players to bring them up to speed in terms of what men's football is like. There'll be games like that in the Championship where they sort of descend into yellow cards and fouls, and those players need to be able to hold their own. So, yeah, I think they played well, the youth players, especially that number 21 who got the assist as well. Can't quite remember his name.
I don't know. What's his name, Adam?
But, I think it's Jake Rooney, and I think it's interesting to see him get an assist, put himself in the front of John Eustace's mind, and that he should be getting some more minutes with this season coming.
Well, some would argue a man that was an 8 out of 10 in League One should be banging in the goals against Matlock Town, but maybe that's just me.
There we go.
But no, he looked good, didn't he, Rooney? I thought he looked calm and assured at the back. I thought he looked a lot better than Eric Peters, who's obviously quite an experienced, decorated player, who was playing at the back with him as well, which was good. Player for me, Callum, Cruz Allen. Now, we sort of talked about him a little bit last year. I still think he's a little bit of what we're missing. I thought he did some really good stuff. He can't defend. We'll never let him defend again after that penalty he gave away. But what he did do was he'd pick up the ball and he'd get into your favourite area, which is the pockets of space, and he'd cut inside, he'd cut outside. I thought he did some really good stuff down the right. I thought he did some really good stuff down the left. He was that proper number 10, I thought. And I don't think Derby have many of those. You know, Kenzo's kind of a bit of an 8 and a 10. I don't know what he is. But he was an out-and-out number 10. He was, your proper playmaker. And he looked like, give him a couple of years, maybe give him a couple of loans, he could be one that could end up in a Derby shirt.
Yeah, like me, creative midfielder, getting those pockets of space.
Yeah, is that what you call it?
That's it. Yeah. No, what at the end of the day, he's been in and around Derby County fans' lips for the last probably season and a bit. He's really impressed at youth level. He's been that one that's kind of stuck out in terms of coaches name dropping him. He's been in and around the squad, and when you actually get to see him in a first team environment, and it's hard to say this is a first team environment because it's pre-season, kind of everyone kind of has a fair shot, but he's been given a fair shot. And yeah, I think what I like is that, I think I mentioned earlier with a couple of players, but they're just the willingness to get on the ball and dribble past players and not be scared to play safe and not to play safe. Sorry. So I think you need that from a number 10, I'd see him as a number 10 going forward. But it's just whether, Eustace sees him being in and around with his stature. He's still probably got a lot of physical growth to do. Maybe it does happen. Maybe it doesn't. It might be just like Tomo in a few years. So yeah, so it'd be good to see what makes of him towards the back end of pre-season.
Yeah, definitely. We've got a comment saying "worn out," which made me laugh. I don't know if you've noticed, Jamie's not on the podcast this week. So everyone's got hair that's on this week. So Paul wants not.
Is he Is he had a really bad pre-season at MK Dons or something? Or
maybe. Ryan says Gordon reminded him a bit of Bogle. Yeah, saw a little bit of that. Very good going forwards. If he can make any sort of impact that Bogle made, that'd be something. And Jim says Tomo isn't quite like Beckham on the free kicks. No, it was
got it on
very
target,
central.
Got him on target.
I don't know if that's a celebratory occurrence, but yeah, it wasn't the best free kick we've seen, is it? We have to talk about the goal. Adam, I've saved this for you because obviously your favourite player of all time set it up. It's actually a lovely ball in by Cruz Allen. Really good set piece. I thought he took some good set pieces as well when he was on the pitch, and he whips a lovely ball to the far post. It's a good head back across by Jake Rooney. Quite a few players in the middle, but it's Harry Hawkins who, looked very impressive for the young team last year. Obviously, Vic said in our chat that he saw him train last year and said he was really good in training and looked really sharp training with the senior team. I mean, it was a good goal all round, wasn't it, Adam? And you wanted the young Derby team to fight back and show a bit of character, and they did.
Yeah, I think it was good. I think they probably deserved it as well with the effort they put in and sort of how they matched Matlock as well, the young team. And I think we were a little bit fortunate to get that free kick, a nice Chris Martin-esque jump, I think, for the foul, which not sure if there was contact. You can't tell from
there was contact.
Could have died.
But yeah, good ball in, and Jake Rooney rose quite high for that header back across. I think most people forget he's decently tall. For what Derby players are usually quite small. I think we always think, and this season going forward, I think we've got quite a tall squad going into it, well, for how we usually set up. So, and it carries on that good run of form with set pieces that we had last season as well into this new season. But no, a neatly worked goal and one that we probably deserved as well. I think it deserved to be played out at a draw. And yeah, like we mentioned, Jake Rooney with the assist, hopefully see him a few more times this season. And it'd be interesting because I think this is probably the season where if he doesn't get first team football with us, you'd think he'd move on if he's fit. He's, getting on as a young player, so to say, and with him already having first team experience with us over a year ago, you'd think he'd probably look for a move at that level or something around there for that experience again. But I think he's a decent prospect and one who could probably definitely come in as a squad player when he's fit, not starting or anything like that, but yeah, I think he's an interesting player to think about.
I think he's going to have a very Nat Phillipsy career, I feel like, at Derby, if he does, stay for a couple more years, where he's sort of in and around at the start of the season, plays some pre-season games and then goes out on loan and then comes back and then goes out on loan and maybe plays a little bit of a part and then goes out on loan and eventually gets a move maybe to a lower division. But yeah, it is a bit of a make or break summer for him, isn't it? I don't think he'll get in the team, being realistic. And that's nothing against him. I think look at the players that we've got in that position. Sondra Langus, who obviously when he's fit is brilliant. You got Matt Clark. You've obviously got Curtis Nelson to come back. We've just signed Danny Bart as well, who I know we've not really mentioned him so far. I thought he looked composed. I actually don't think he did anything for the whole game, which I think is good. He didn't make any slip ups or anything like that. I thought he played all right. And yeah, I think it's a position where Derby are really strong, and I don't see Jake Rooney getting the opportunities to play there in the Championship. For me, I think he should probably go out on loan. I don't know what you think, but it's probably about time that he give it a go, maybe in League One, because he's clearly a League One player at least, and it'd be a bit of a waste to see him still playing in the Championship. But Callum, Adam talked about there, we love scoring from set pieces, don't we? Obviously, it was a set piece that set it up in the end. But a player that Derby is signing who is very, very tall, Patrick Adjumang, set pieces like that, he'll be a big fan of them if they're coming into the box with his size and his physicality. It's starting to become quite entertaining. Dom sort of live tweeting every moment of his day. He's getting on the flight now. He's just had his lunch. He's having a haircut this afternoon.
I thought Dom was with him at one point.
Yeah, he's probably on the plane with him. He's paid a bit extra for the on-flight Wi-Fi, so they could have that conversation. But I know we keep having to talk about it as in, what's he going to do when he signs? But looking at Derby yesterday, it seemed like we missed that focal point a little bit, especially in the first half. Agbawadekizu did a good job in the second half. But again, he could only do so much because he's an inexperienced player. In the first half, I thought Roof got bullied. a little bit. I thought Roof got pushed about. Yes, he won a lot of free kicks, but in a position where you want the player to hold the ball up and sort of knock it around the corner or something like that, he was often kind of pushed to the floor or muscled out of it. I know it's not really his game. It'd make a big difference, wouldn't it? And maybe it'll give a bit of a lift having a player like that to the players around. Maybe like Jackson, maybe Jackson's just needed a player to play off.
Yeah, I mean, just give Riv a little bit of credit. I think that if he finished that one that kind of came over his shoulder, touched it down, and slotted it past the keeper, I think we would have been saying, "Oh, let's just get him on a short-term deal." But no, I mean, yeah, very unlucky with that one, to be fair. But yeah, I think it kind of shows what Morris and hopefully Adjuman will bring is that physical presence, being able to hold up the ball, being able to really compete with championship defenders, because that's what we haven't had. I think every person in our fan base mentions we haven't had since Chris Martin. So I think that Morris, if he had started, would have probably shown that. Obviously, I'm excited to see what he's like, hopefully in Austria. And then obviously if Adjuman then joins the party, then yeah, I think what Adjuman will also bring is not only the hold-up play, but also the run. He can make runs in behind us. From I think everyone's seen clips, probably because that's the only thing you can do, because you can't find anything else at the moment to do. Is the ability to run in behind, because he has got that like uninhabited pace for someone who's over 6'3", 4, and what we will be able to utilize is not only, like you said, the hold up play. The big thing for me is with the Eustace does a 2 up top or he does a 1 up top. Obviously, from very, very early on that we've seen in 1 or 2 halves of football, he's going with the 1. But I think with maybe more bodies in the door, it might be interesting to see if he goes with 2.
Yeah, it certainly would. And you know what? We deserve a big pat on the back, lads, because how on earth have we done 36 and a half minutes on that Matlock game? There are about 2 shots. Nothing happened in the whole game. So you know what? We've done really well there. Let's go on to next week. Obviously, Derby going on their camp away abroad, going to Austria, going to Tyrol. Lovely place, by the way. I don't know if anyone's Googled it. Lovely mountains. You're sort of on the cusp between Austria and Germany. You can look out onto Bavaria if you go up the mountains a little bit. Very, very nice. I am very much looking forward to going.
I was about to say, you should be an expert going.
I'm going to say, if anyone's going, give me a shout. It'd be nice to catch some people as well at the game and have a chat with them, go for a pint or something in Austria. That'd be cool. But Adam, looking forward to Salzburg. I noticed Owen Brady made a comment yesterday on Rams TV saying a Salzburg 11, which intrigued me. Obviously, they played in the Club World Cup, so there's probably going to be a few players that might have extended breaks, etc., depending on how they are. There might be some coming back, but it's going to be a Salzburg team of sorts that Derby will face out there. It looks really interesting, doesn't it? I'm really excited. I think it's going to be a really cool game, and it could be, obviously, if they put out a decent team, a good test. And how do you see it going? Who do you want to see involved?
I think I want to see a couple of the younger players go over. But I don't know whether anybody else saw this, but I'm not sure if a Derby 11 are playing at Macclesfield as well. Macclesfield put that out, saying that they're playing a Derby 11 this summer about a month ago. But not seeing that Derby have put it anywhere. So maybe that's where the younger players are going, and maybe this B team. But this was even before the B team was announced. This was maybe a month and a half ago. So it'll be interesting to see how many younger players go out to Austria to play in that game. But as you mentioned, it's a different test to what we'd usually expect in England. There'll be a different style of play. There'll be players who've played in top level competitions. There'll be younger players in that Salzburg team as well. So I think it's an exciting one. I'd like to see Corey Blackett-Taylor feature. Jake Rooney, as always, has to start for me every game. But no, I think for me, I think also Caden Jackson as well. I want him to prove me wrong and show me something that he can feature next season. But I think it will be really interesting, as you say, some of the players who've come in new. Morris, as Jim's just mentioned in the comments there, I think that would be an exciting one if he could get a couple of minutes out there. But it will be interesting to see how Derby play now, how Derby fare against a different opposition with completely different tactics and style of play to what we're used to playing against in the Football League and also against some of these non-league oppositions. So, as I mentioned there, I think I'm correct about the Macclesfield thing, but I remember they
2nd
put
of August. 2nd of August.
Saying it'll be 11. So it'll be interesting to see how many youth players actually go out to Austria, and it'll be interesting to see whether we make any activity in the transfer market as well whilst we're out there.
Yeah, it would be good. James says we've been linked with Bobby Clark. I think he's right. I think he does play for them at the minute, Salzburg. So it'd be interesting to see if he gets minutes. Maybe it's his audition to come and play for Derby. We'll see. But yeah, it'll definitely be interesting. Callum, I won't lie, I didn't expect Adam to say Jackson. I thought it'd be more players like Morris. Is he the sort of the man you want to see in a Derby shirt the most?
What, Jackson? Let's move on. What I'd probably say is Morris is my big one. I think Morris, if he is fit enough, I would love to see us play with a proper focal point number 9. And obviously, I'm not going to expect the world of him, but I think part of me is more excited than him than Agyman, and that's just partly because he's proven in the Championship, he's proven even in the Premier League to score goals. This is what we need, and I think he could massively benefit us. And I'm more excited to see what content comes, because there's always some good content when they go abroad, because they go in team building. It's the squad gets closer, and the new players kind of integrate into the squad. I think the last big sign that we had was Ibu Adams when they're out there, wasn't it? Because he came in and saw them all in the swimming pool and stuff. So yeah, so it'd be good to see if we can get someone out there, maybe a particular American.
Yeah, definitely. I'm very sure that he will be on that plane. In fact, I'm very confident.
You're hoping.
On that plane. He'd better be on that plane, is what I'm saying. Mark with a horrible attempt at an Agyman song that really hurts Mark. I saw another one that was based on like Mendes Lang's one, and it was like he went to Charlotte, scored in the MLS. He's come to Dom. Please no.
Leave that with Mendes Lang. That's his.
John, my friend, Mr. Eustace, if you're a player down for training, let me know. I'm around. I'll bring my boots. It's fine. I've got space in my luggage. Don't you worry. If you need an extra player, I'm about. Just keep that in mind. But no, it will be good to see. Yeah, all the preseason content's fun. The players will get run into the ground, which is always good, isn't it? It's good to see where players are, and hopefully we'll come back refreshed and fitter and ready, and the games might have a little bit more excitement for the rest of the preseason. Burton away, we better win that. We can't lose the Bass Charity Vase final, a final of such magnitude. It's actually for a very good cause, but yeah, we need to win that. We need to extend our dominance on that trophy. So, right, well done, lads. We've done a good job here. 42 minutes out of that in
42-degree heat.
In 42-degree heat. There's a lad that lives clearly like 2 roads from me who's just got his new bike, and he goes past, and all you can hear is like every time he goes past. I had to like tactically mute my mic every time he's driven past in fear and panic. But we've done well. So if you did enjoy, please do leave a like. Please do subscribe. Like I said, we do this on a Sunday pretty much every week. Come and join the likes of Jim, Mark, James in the comments. It's always nice to have that two-way conversation as well. So if you fancy it, you're more than welcome to join us in the future. If you did enjoy, please do leave a like. Please do subscribe. Check us out wherever. And it really does make a difference. About 40% of people who listen aren't subscribed. So if you guys want to join us, that would be very nice as well. So thank you so much for listening. Looking forward to a good week in Austria. Hopefully we batter Salzburg and we come back full of great spirit, and the players aren't mentally broken from a week of running. It is goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
Join the 60% and up the lionesses. Goodbye from me.
Great stuff. And like I said, if you're out there, let me know. It'd be good to catch some of you guys out in Austria. So bye-bye. We'll see you soon.